Emma Carter had learned to ignore the feeling. The feeling that someone was standing behind her. The feeling that a car was following her. The feeling that whenever she looked through a window at night, another shadow seemed to disappear behind a wall. For 3 months, she had told herself it was nothing. She had ended her relationship with Ryan Miller nearly 6 months earlier. At first, Ryan had accepted it. Then came the messages. "I miss you. We need to talk. You can't just erase me." Then the messages became darker. "I know where you work. I saw you today. You shouldn't ignore me." Emma had blocked him. He created another number. She blocked that one too. Eventually, she stopped responding altogether. She changed her routine. She stopped walking home alone. She told her coworkers what was happening. And she believed she was finally getting away from him. Until that Thursday evening. Emma worked late at a private law firm in downtown Chicago. At 10:47 p.m. she finally left the building. Rain had started falling. She hurried toward the underground parking garage. Her heels echoed against the concrete. She pressed the elevator button. Nothing. She sighed. The elevator was apparently stuck on another floor. So she took the stairs. She reached level B3. The garage was almost completely empty. Only a few lights flickered overhead. Emma walked toward her car. Then she heard footsteps. She stopped. The footsteps stopped too. She turned. Nothing. "Hello?" Silence. She swallowed. Then a man's voice came from somewhere behind the concrete pillars. "Going somewhere, Emma?" Her blood turned cold. She knew that voice. "Ryan." Emma stepped backward. "Ryan." He emerged from behind a pillar. His clothes were soaked from the rain. His expression was calm. Too calm. "You shouldn't have blocked me," he said. Emma reached for her phone. Ryan noticed. "Don't." She froze. "Leave me alone. I've been trying to talk to you." "No. You've been following me." His jaw tightened. "I was making sure you were safe. I don't need you to protect me." Ryan laughed. "You don't understand how dangerous this city is." Emma stared at him. "You're the danger." His smile disappeared. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Ryan moved closer. Emma stepped back again. "Don't come near me." "Emma, just listen." "No." She turned and hurried toward the stairwell. Ryan grabbed her wrist. She screamed. "Let go." He tightened his grip. "You're going to listen to me." Emma struggled. Then suddenly, a voice echoed through the garage. "Take your hand off her." Ryan froze. Emma did too. The voice had come from somewhere above them. Deep. Calm. Almost emotionless. Ryan looked around. "Who's there?" No answer. Emma's heart raced. Then the lights above the garage suddenly became brighter. A security camera rotated toward them. A small red light blinked. Ryan looked at it. And for the first time that night, fear appeared in his eyes. A black sedan slowly rolled into the garage. Its headlights cut through the darkness. The driver's door opened. A man stepped out. He was tall, dressed in a dark suit, with an expression so controlled that it was almost impossible to read. His name was Alexander Black. Most people in the city knew him as a mysterious billionaire who owned several buildings, hotels, restaurants, and private security companies. But very few knew anything about his personal life. Alexander rarely spoke. He rarely appeared at public events. And when he did, he never stayed long. His employees called him the silent owner. Because Alexander could walk into a room, say almost nothing, and still make everyone nervous. He looked directly at Ryan. Let her go. Ryan laughed nervously. Who are you? Alexander didn't answer. Instead, he looked at Emma. Are you hurt? Emma shook her head. No. Good. Then his eyes returned to Ryan. You have 5 seconds to leave. Ryan laughed. You think I'm afraid of you? Alexander glanced toward the cameras. No. He paused. You should be afraid of what I've already recorded. Ryan's face changed. 2 security guards appeared from the stairwell. Alexander didn't raise his voice. Call the police. Ryan immediately stepped backward. Wait. Alexander looked at him. You followed her here. Ryan shook his head. No. You entered this garage without authorization. I was invited. Alexander's expression remained unchanged. By whom? Ryan said nothing. Alexander looked toward the security guard. Pull the footage from the last 3 months. Ryan's face went pale. Emma stared at Alexander. 3 months? He knew? The guard nodded. Sir. Ryan suddenly turned and ran. One of the guards blocked his path. Ryan stopped. Alexander walked toward him. You made one mistake. Ryan stared at him. What? You assumed nobody was watching. Alexander's voice remained quiet. But I own this building. The police arrived minutes later. Emma gave her statement. Ryan was taken into custody. But the detective told her something that frightened her. This isn't the first time he's followed you. Emma looked confused. What do you mean? The detective showed her photographs. Pictures of her leaving work. Pictures of her entering a coffee shop. Pictures of her walking into her apartment. Pictures taken from across the street. Emma's hands began trembling. How long? The detective looked at Alexander. According to the security footage, he started following you almost 4 months ago. Emma covered her mouth. 4 months. She had thought she was imagining things. She hadn't been. Alexander stood several feet away. Silent. The detective asked him. Mr. Black, we'll need copies of your surveillance footage. You'll have it. Emma looked at him. Why did you help me? Alexander looked at her. Because you needed help. That's all? His expression softened slightly. For tonight. Emma barely slept. The next morning, she sat in her apartment staring at her phone. There were no new messages. For the first time in months, the silence didn't feel peaceful. It felt strange. At 9:30 a.m., someone knocked on her door. Emma froze. She looked through the peephole. Alexander stood outside. She opened the door carefully. Mr. Black? Alexander. What are you doing here? I wanted to make sure you were safe. She looked behind him. 2 security officers stood near the elevator. You brought security? Yes. I don't need a bodyguard. Maybe not. He handed her a card. My private security number. She looked at it. If Ryan contacts you again, call. I will. Alexander turned away. Then Emma stopped him. Why are you doing this? He looked back. Because last night, I saw fear in your eyes. She waited. I don't like seeing fear in people who haven't done anything to deserve it. Then he walked away. Emma returned to work. But everything felt different. She discovered that the law firm occupied one of Alexander's buildings. Her boss approached her. Emma, I heard about last night. She nodded. I'm okay. We'll increase security. Thank you. Then her boss lowered his voice. You know Alexander Black owns this entire block, right? Emma looked surprised. I knew he owned the garage. He owns the building too. She stared through the glass wall toward the street. So he wasn't just there by coincidence. No. Her boss smiled. Apparently he rarely visits personally. Emma's heart skipped. That evening, she stayed late again. When she left her office, she found Alexander standing in the lobby. He was reading a report. He looked up. Long day? Yes. You shouldn't walk to the garage alone. Emma smiled. You sound like a bodyguard. I own the building. That isn't the same thing. Tonight it is. Alexander surprised Emma by inviting her to dinner. She hesitated. Why? Because you've had a difficult week. You barely know me. I know enough. She looked at him. You're very mysterious. So I've been told. She laughed. It was the first time Alexander had seen her laugh. Something changed in his expression. Dinner was surprisingly simple. No expensive private room. No dramatic display of wealth. Just a quiet restaurant with warm lighting. Emma discovered that Alexander hated crowded places. He discovered that she loved old movies and terrible romantic comedies. You don't seem like a billionaire, she said. What does a billionaire seem like? Louder. He almost smiled. I've never been loud. Why? Alexander looked down at his glass. Because I learned early that people reveal more when you let them believe you're not listening. Emma studied him. That's sad. It's useful. Those aren't the same thing. He looked at her. No. For a moment, they simply stared at each other. Then Alexander said quietly. You're right. A week later, the detective called Emma. Ryan made bail. Her heart sank. How? He hired an expensive attorney. Emma immediately remembered Alexander's warning. Is he coming after me? We don't know. She hung up. That evening, she found a note under her apartment door. You can't hide forever. Emma's hand shook. She called Alexander. He answered immediately. Where are you? My apartment. Lock the door. I already did. Don't open it. I won't. 20 minutes later, Alexander arrived. Security officers searched the hallway. Nothing. Alexander examined the note. Did you touch it? No. Good. He looked at her. You're staying somewhere else tonight. Emma shook her head. I can't keep running. This isn't running. What is it? Surviving until we stop him. She looked into his eyes. And if he doesn't stop? Alexander's expression became colder. Then I'll make sure he can't reach you. Alexander took Emma to a private house outside the city. It was surrounded by trees and high security fences. Emma looked around. This is your idea of safe? Yes. It looks like a prison. That's because it's designed to keep dangerous people outside. She smiled faintly. And what about the dangerous person inside? Alexander looked at her. You mean me? She nodded. You've heard the rumors. I've heard plenty. Do you believe them? She studied him. I don't know. That makes two of us. She smiled. What does that mean? I don't know what you think of me either. For the first time, Alexander looked genuinely uncertain. Emma realized something. The silent owner wasn't fearless. He simply knew how to hide his fear. Emma stayed at the safe house for several days. Alexander worked from the study. He rarely spoke. But she began noticing little things. He made coffee every morning. He watered the plants himself. He remembered how she liked her tea. He always checked the doors twice before going to sleep. One evening, Emma found him sitting alone outside. Can't sleep? No. Nightmares? He looked at her. Sometimes. She sat beside him. What do you dream about? People I couldn't protect. Emma remained silent. That's why you're so protective, she said. Yes. Do you blame yourself? All the time. She looked at him. You can't save everyone. I know. Then why try? Alexander looked toward the dark trees. Because once upon a time I needed someone to try for me. Emma reached for his hand. He looked down at their fingers. Neither pulled away. The next morning, the security alarm went off. Alexander immediately stood. Stay here. Emma's heart raced. What happened? Someone breached the outer gate. Security officers moved through the house. Alexander remained calm. Emma watched him. Alexander. He turned. Stay behind me. They heard a crash. Then another. The security team stopped the intruder before he reached the house. It wasn't Ryan. It was one of Ryan's associates. The police later confirmed that Ryan had paid him to locate Emma. Alexander stood beside her. You see why I told you to stay here? Emma nodded. Then she whispered. Thank you. He looked at her. For what? For not leaving me alone. Alexander's voice softened. I'm not planning to. Eventually, Ryan was arrested again. This time, the evidence was overwhelming. Security footage. Messages. Photographs. Witness statements. And recordings from the parking garage. Ryan had nowhere left to hide. But before the trial, he requested to speak with Emma. She almost refused. Then she changed her mind. Alexander asked. Are you sure? Yes. I'll be outside. Ryan sat behind the glass. He looked different. Smaller. Weaker. You ruined everything, he said. Emma stared at him. No, Ryan. You could have come back. You scared me. I loved you. That wasn't love. He looked at her. What was it? Emma stood. Control. Ryan's eyes filled with anger. But Emma didn't flinch. You don't own me. Then she walked away. For the first time, she didn't look back. That night, Emma returned to the safe house. Alexander was waiting. How did it go? It's over. He nodded. You're sure? Yes. He looked relieved. Then Emma asked. What happens now? Now you go home. She stared at him. You're sending me away? You deserve your life back. And what about you? He didn't answer. Emma stepped closer. Alexander. Yes? I don't want to go. He looked at her. Why? Because somewhere between the parking garage and this house, I stopped being afraid of you. He remained silent. Emma continued. And I started feeling safe. Alexander looked away. That isn't a good reason. Why? Because you might confuse safety with love. Emma smiled. And what if I don't? He looked back at her. The silence between them became impossible to ignore. Alexander stepped closer. Emma. She looked into his eyes. What? You don't know what you're getting into. Maybe. My life isn't simple. Neither is mine. I have enemies. So do I. He almost smiled. You're stubborn. I've been told. He reached for her hand. I'm afraid of hurting you. You saved me. That doesn't mean I deserve you. Emma shook her head. You don't get to decide that. She stepped closer. Then she kissed him. It was gentle. Brief. But when they pulled apart, Alexander looked almost stunned. Emma smiled. You're speechless. I usually am. She laughed. For the first time in years, the house didn't feel like a hiding place. It felt like the beginning of something. Months passed. Ryan was convicted and sentenced. Emma returned to her apartment. She returned to work. She started sleeping without checking the locks 5 times. But she didn't forget what happened. Neither did Alexander. He continued to protect her, but he stopped treating her like someone fragile. He encouraged her to travel. To meet friends. To live normally. One evening, Emma told him. "You've changed." "How?" "You used to decide everything for me. I was trying to keep you safe." "I know." She smiled, "But now you ask what I want." Alexander nodded. "Because I finally understand." "What?" "Protection isn't control." Emma smiled. "Exactly." Almost a year later, Emma returned to the same parking garage. She stood exactly where Ryan had once cornered her. Alexander was beside her. "You sure about this?" he asked. "Yes." She looked around. The garage no longer felt terrifying. It was just concrete. Lights. Cars. A place where something terrible had happened. But it wasn't her prison anymore. She took a breath. "This place used to make me feel helpless." Alexander squeezed her hand. "And now?" She smiled. "Now I feel free." He looked at her. "You're stronger than you know." Emma shook her head. "No." She looked at him. "I just finally stopped believing someone else had the right to control my life." Alexander smiled. "That's strength." They walked toward the elevator. Alexander suddenly stopped. "Emma." She turned. "What?" He reached into his jacket. Her eyes widened. "Alexander. I've never been good with words." "You're getting better." He smiled. Then he lowered himself onto one knee. Emma covered her mouth. "I don't want to protect you for the rest of your life." He paused. "I want to live it with you." Her eyes filled with tears. "I want to build something that doesn't depend on fear." He opened the ring box. "Emma Carter, will you marry me?" She laughed through her tears. "You really chose a parking garage?" "I thought it was symbolic." "It's terrible." He smiled. "Is that a no?" She held out her hand. "It's a yes." Their wedding was small. No reporters. No cameras. No business associates. Just family and close friends. Emma wore a simple ivory dress. Alexander wore a classic black suit. When he saw her walking toward him, his normally emotionless face changed completely. She smiled. "You're staring." "I know. Everyone can see you." "I don't care." During their vows, Alexander said, "I can't promise that the world will always be safe." He looked into her eyes. "But I promise that you will never face it alone." Emma's voice trembled as she replied. "And I promise I will never let fear decide my future again." They exchanged rings. They kissed. And everyone applauded. Years later, Emma sometimes thought about that rainy night. She remembered walking through the empty parking garage. She remembered hearing Ryan's voice. She remembered believing she was trapped. And she remembered another voice. Calm. Deep. Certain. "Take your hand off her." At the time, she thought Alexander had simply been another powerful man who happened to be there. She didn't know he owned the building. She didn't know his cameras had been watching. She didn't know he had seen Ryan following her for weeks. And she certainly didn't know that the silent man standing in the shadows would eventually become her husband. But Alexander remembered everything. One evening, years later, Emma asked him, "Were you really watching me that night?" He smiled. "I was watching the garage." She raised an eyebrow. And me? He took her hand. You were impossible not to notice. She laughed. You never told me why you were there. I had a meeting. In a deserted parking garage? Yes. That sounds suspicious. It was. She smiled. Then she leaned against his shoulder. Alexander kissed the top of her head. The past had taught them both something important. Fear could make you feel trapped. Control could make you feel powerless. But neither had to define your future. Emma had survived the person who wanted to own her. And Alexander had learned that protecting someone didn't mean holding them tightly. It meant giving them the freedom to choose. And every night, when Emma walked through the front door of their home, Alexander was there. Not watching from the shadows. Not controlling where she went. Just waiting. Because the woman he had once seen through a security camera in a deserted parking garage had become the person he trusted most in the world. And Emma no longer wondered whether someone was watching her. She knew someone was. But now, it wasn't because she was being hunted. It was because someone loved her enough to notice when she walked through the door. And this time, she wasn't afraid.